In our 4-year report card review of the Modi government today, our focus is on India's residential real estate market, which witnessed probably the worst year in a decade last year, which was 2017. 70% drop in new project launches and 40% in buyer demand. Undoubtedly, 3 events added to the bloodbath, which was demonetization, coming of the real estate regulator, or RERA, and also a whole lot of confusion around GST. Mr. Talwar, will affordable housing now, a lot of not only developers but even financial capital seems to be moving to affordable housing from IFC to HDFC. Is that what the industry needs to bring its mojo back? I know I'm using this word, but I'm hoping it will be back.
It will be, and I'm quite certain it will come back in a very big way, and the flowering of or blossoming of affordable housing will lead to a much more higher demand in any form of housing, whether it is above 25 lakhs, above 50 lakhs, or even above a crore, because economic prosperity has to be invested into better homes. But I think there are some contradictions which need to be pointed out. While the government has done a lot for affordable housing, there are some taxation contradictions which exist. Number one, if you dispose of a house, if you're trying to buy affordable housing, any size, 30, 60, 90 square meters, then I think the number of homes that you should be allowed to reinvest into should be much more than one. Unfortunately, capital gains is attracted if you buy more than one house when you dispose of a house. That is a clear contradiction. Number two, the government has really no idea about rental housing. We are thinking that every poor person is going to buy his house thanks to the credit-linked subsidy scheme or the Prime Minister's Awas Yojana, which will actually give you subsidized interest rates. The truth is that a large amount of land which is going to be made available from government agencies cannot pass on the ownership to anyone and everyone. And therefore the concept of rental housing needs to be incentivized. Even in developed countries, rental housing accounts for about 50%. And if there is, the third one is you have to create a surplus. When you see advertisements going, the government in fact has a contradictory stand, that if you have an unsold inventory more than 1 year, then it will be charged a notional tax on a notional income. That is a clear contradiction against affordable housing, because the idea is that
I agree, Mr. Talwar. That point is well taken. I have never understood, but let me go to my other panelists now. Sanjay Dutt, I'm moving the conversation to the larger residential market. If I look at the first quarter of 2018, because Tata Housing not just has Tata Value Homes, you also have a business portfolio which comprises units going right up to 5 crores. Now, new launches in the first quarter of 2018 have been 30,000. New absorption has been thankfully higher at 43,000. But unsold inventory is still at 6.4 lakh units of under construction and of ready units also at 78,000. So my question to you is, how can affordable housing alone take the pain away from the sector? A lot more needs to be done, isn't it?
You're absolutely right, Manisha. I think the private capital, private equity can play a very important role. So far, all the developers have only served one sector, which is financial sector. So all the NBFCs have made all the money in real estate and the developers have not. I'm talking about the larger developer community. So a lot of developers actually need to be, they need to restructure their financial health, and they can contribute in building and bridging the gap of affordable homes. So I think there's a larger issue. Secondly, I think private capital is looking for credible players who have their strategies sorted and a roadmap to actually deliver affordable homes profitably.
Right.
So if some of the areas that Rajiv mentioned are addressed, and then there's one more area. If affordable homes are beyond urban limits and municipal corporations, please go and check, is it doable to work in that environment where the municipal limits, where the social infrastructure and transportation is not there. Neeraj mentioned they are not livable. What will you do if you deliver affordable homes when you're not in a position to
will they
occupy?
sell at all? A very important point. In fact, the crux of the debate has come out in this second segment. Neeraj, quick concluding remarks from you on how can you revive the sector as a whole? It's a big contributor to GDP.
So it's again, a question with respect to the, the way the sector responds to it as well. I mean, you spoke about that there's been a lot of bloodbath and challenges as well, but there are green shoots. You see certain companies, have perfected the model of being asset light, perfected the model on JV aspect of it. So business environment is challenging, but your response to that in terms of how you change your strategy, it can never be the status quo. So, in terms of, coming up with a new approach, and people have been successful. So I think the sector's benefited, with this jolts and shocks that the sector has got. It has led to emergence of new models as well.
All right. So it's cleaned up, and I believe hopefully the pain is behind us. Gentlemen, we've run out of time, but it was a great panel to have today for this big, important discussion. Rajiv Talwar, Sanjay Dutt, and Neeraj, thank you very much for joining me. Well, the sector's cleaning up, consolidation is happening, and somebody actually told me that out of 50,000 developers across the country, by the end of next 3 to 5 years, you will probably see 10,000 survive. So 1/5 will survive, not more than that. For the buyers, though, it's not just affordable housing. Right now, it's a bargain hunt and likely to stay that way for the next couple of years. Thank you so much for joining me. Goodbye.